Hello, my name is Darshawn McAway, and this is based on a true story. So, yeah, you guessed it. I did exactly what the picture shows. So, one day, I had a collection agency woman give me a call, and she goes through her whole script. And I'm thinking to myself, man, she has a lovely voice. She's saying all the right things to get this money that I rightfully owe back to the company. But, let me just hear her out and see what kind of deal I can make. So she's telling me that I owe this $600 bill. I'm trying to figure out, how is it $600 and what happened and how did I fall so far behind? Now, mind you, I was a young teenager at the time, but still, I didn't remember having a bill that was so high. Anyway, I'm asking her some questions, and I didn't know this at the time, but they had a settlement plan. So she mentions a settlement plan, and they can do, 125 for so many months, and I can cancel out the bill. So I told her, I said, well, let me try to come up with something. Like, what can I put down today? What's the cheapest I can put down today? So she tells me, and I go lower than that. I can do 20 today, and we can set something up for the next time. But I'm just not for sure if I can, really come to the plate and make the payment, which is the reason why I was so far behind anyway. So she goes, that's fine. As long as you're putting down something, that'll work. They'll see that you're putting in the effort. Besides, you want to try to make sure that your credit score is going up because you never know when you may need to use a credit card or to use your credit score for something important in the future. So as she's talking and writing up the paper or typing up the papers, if you will, I started thinking to myself, man, I wonder what she looks like. She sounds very lovely over the phone. So me being 100% unprofessional, I just jumped out the window and was like, hey, are you single? And when I think back on it, I could have made her nervous. She could have remained professional, but she humored me at the time. And this had to be the time where the phone calls weren't necessarily recorded or they weren't grading the callers for their job performance, because I spoke to her and she was telling me some things and the conversation was going by pretty smooth. And when she asked me, was I single? That's when I knew, oh, we have a connection. So I say, well, this may seem inappropriate for you, but uh, I'm not going to give you my email, but you can look me up, right? Because my email is on file. And, maybe if you wanted to, you can send me a picture. So she goes through the procedure. She gets me situated. She takes my card number and everything like that. And she said, I'll think about it. And, she reads the end of her script and then she, gets me off the phone. So I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm never going to hear from that. I just tried something. Well, a few weeks, and I'm talking a few weeks later, she sends a picture and it's kind of encrypted, and it said caller, and she sent the picture and she put her name in there. And I'm looking at the email like, who is this person? So there was a phone number in there in her email. I text the phone and I said, hey, is this the girl I was speaking to for I think it was an AT&T bill? And she said, yes, that's me. And I was like, oh my goodness, you're like drop dead gorgeous. So I gave her a call and we started talking and I was free to talk. And you guys know me, I'm very transparent with my conversation. So I'm asking her questions. And this might have been around the first time I kind of asked the question, like, are you single for real? Like, do you have kids? And when I asked that question, I was like, dang, I shouldn't have asked because I know she's going to hit me with something. And lo and behold, she did. She told me she had 3 kids. She had 3 different baby daddies. And at the time, I believe she was like 32, maybe 34. And one of her baby daddies had just went to prison. I forgot what she said, but it had something to do with like some type of fraud or whatever. And honestly, she said she was done with men. So when she said that she was done with men, I already knew what my position was. She was more so looking for a way to maybe receive money from men or just to kind of keep a man as a somewhat of a companion. So she asked me a question. She was like, I remember you telling me that you had your own business. Are you hiring? Because I can use some money since my current baby daddy went to prison. You know, he didn't go to jail, he went to prison. And I was like, well, it depends on what you want to do. So I ran down a list of positions I had open at the time. So she started asking me a few questions. She was like, well, if you have money to kind of pay people, you know, why are you paying your bills late? And I told her, I say, that's just stuff that happens. Sometimes I forget and I just don't be paying attention to certain things. So I told her a couple positions and she was like, doesn't really fit her resume, but you know, in the near future, she'll let me know. So she asked me a question. She was like, so why don't you have a girlfriend? And I was like, well, I'm just playing the field. You know, I'm just out here having fun and whatnot. So I asked her, I say, well, how is it, you know, raising 3 kids, you know, by yourself? She was like, well, technically, I'm only raising one by myself. The other two, their fathers have joint custody, and I try to let them spend as much time with their dad as much as possible. But the third one, you know, since he went to prison, it's not much I could really do. So I got to go through the whole paperwork to basically like have full custody of the child. So she asked me, so what do you want to do with me? And I told her, I say, well, I want to come visit you for sure. I say, but you got 3 kids. There's not much I can do with you, you know? So I say, where do you live? She's like, I live in California. And I was like, okay. I said, I'd love to come out there and hang out with you. Of course, it'd be my treat. And she was like, well, if you want just to save money on a hotel, you can come stay with me. I stay in a pretty, you know, big size house. You can come stay and it won't be no funny business. And she was like, unless you want it to be. And I was like, we'll see what happens. So we get off the phone for that one time. And then we started speaking off and on for a few days, and it turned into a couple weeks. And I think we capped out at about 3 months, and we got pretty far with each other. And it wasn't always sexual. It was really a woman who needed some male attention, but she also needed a little guidance in the way that she was moving about her life. You know, apparently she picked the wrong guys or things just didn't work out the right way. And I was just a little bit of a stress relief for her. And, you know, as gorgeous as she was, it was just one of those situations where it wouldn't work, you know, because I would have just been another notch on her belt. And it always seems like I'm the guy that's a perfect fit, pun intended, but I'm the perfect fit for the women, but they never seem to make it to the finish line with me. I wasn't going to be judgmental about the kids because she had a job for herself. She was pretty smart. I just, when it came to relationships, they just make bad decisions, or at least she made a bad decision. But that was my first time talking to a collection agent female over the phone to get her attention, to see what she's about, to see if I can meet up with her. And I've done it a couple more times, but the other women, they remain professional. And besides, like going towards that near future, you know, phone calls were being monitored. And that was part of the reason why the monitoring stuff was happening with these collection debt agencies. But yeah, she was very nice, man. And we got pretty far. Not for sure the last time I heard from her, but I'm pretty sure she's doing well. My name is Darshawn McAway, and this is based on a true story. Make sure you like, sub, and subscribe. Peace.